week of the book, Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. I hope you at least enjoyed the last few chapters. It was interesting, very revealing in regards of this author's angle.
I could have got it out good.
So we're just gonna go ahead and go into the questions. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my brother Smith real quick. So we're gonna go in chronological order. Basically, this is from Black Zeus. The author makes the argument that jobs like sanitation workers and teachers have much more powerful impact in society than jobs like corporate executives and politicians. During this current COVID-19 pandemic and the shutdowns, we have seen some truth in his argument. I had to explain it. He further argues for a societal revolution to change our current system of capitalism to something else that will benefit all members of society. In light of the effects of the pandemic, do you believe that society will make such a systematic change? And if so, why or why not? I'll take a stab at it. I don't think society is, and I think this kind of lends to, the last chapter that talks about UBI and having this sort of be the new revolution of addressing the bullshit jobs to allow people to pursue other things and have a restructuring of what meaningful jobs are. I don't think there's going to be a significant systematic change to how we currently operate, because last week when we were discussing the population of just the United States alone, like I don't think there's enough money to fund people leisure, to like really have people just do what they want to do and not necessarily be productive. And plus there's a lot of government self-interest in making sure that people stay productive in their own light. So I don't think there's going to be enough systematic change right now. Maybe with this whole metaverse where people are just, tapping into this virtual world and we could kind of just do things virtually. Maybe that could be an outlet to change systems. But I don't think currently we will get rid of capitalism. Capitalism right now has basically innovated a lot of things. And I just don't think we could simply just do away with capitalism, as this author has tried to allude to accommodate for a bunch of people. I'm asking him to unmute.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good on mute, and I gotta charge this up. But I don't have the questions, man, and I missed that.
Let me see if I could do something real quick for you, brother.
Yeah, I don't have the questions. I told you my phone on the fritz, man. I like to read the question myself.
Hold on. I got you. Go ahead, Black Zeus, and then while I compose the questions real quick.
When I ask this question, and I'm listening to him, and he's saying how sanitation workers, when they went on strike, it broke the city in just a couple of days or something, and how when the executives at Uber quit, nobody noticed and shit, everything went along. I saw a double-edged sword that this, I don't think either he didn't see it or he wasn't acknowledging it. Piece number one is the fact of these corporate executives created the system. And without those people to create the systems, there would be no Uber. There'd be no system for sanitation workers to work in, or teachers to work, or anybody to work. So to say that, the system creators or the system creators and maintainers are useless and BS jobs is a foolish thing to say, because the people that are in the system, whether it be sanitation workers, teachers, Uber drivers, without someone else putting that time and effort to build the system for them, it'd be anarchy. It'd be chaos and anarchy. We wouldn't have development as a society, period. It would just be complete madness. Secondly, I think his alluding to removing capitalism and putting UBI as a replacement and this, that, and the other, and saying, oh, people had the leisure to do what they wanted, they'd be happier, X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry, but no one is that altruistic where it's like, oh, I'm going to go pick up the garbage on the streets because it needs to be done. Very few people would say, I'm going to sign up for that job. Just the same way, very few, because everybody's worried about the 1% that's the billionaires, right? But nobody really thinks about the 1% that are the soldiers that are putting their lives on the line to protect the country and keep the stability and the safety of the country. No one's like saying that nobody's jealous of that group. That's a very small minority of people. Could you imagine if, so basically the 99% in between the 1% of those in military service and the 1% that are, at the top, epsilon of wealth, like that 99% is pretty fucking selfish because that 99, the bottom 1% serves the country or serves the people while the top 1% creates for the people. Everybody in the middle is just taking advantage of the system. So it's a crock of shit to say that this system hasn't provided some sort of security, stability, and resources for the majority of people. And those who want to take advantage of it, those who want to participate in it. If you choose not to, that is completely your free right. You just will not get the benefits, but now you want to create a system where people will say, I don't want to participate and get the benefits. It's like the people that say, I don't want to get a COVID shot or wear a mask, but if I get sick, I want to take a hospital bed, with their resources and everything else and not have to pay for it. That is insanity. That's madness, So I just don't see that system ever coming to fruition for the simple fact of we have been doing it this way for so long. And also because, let's say you did do it, right? Let's say you just switched to UBI and understand people could quit their jobs whenever they want. How would we have any stability if people are just quitting left and right? Oh, I don't want to do this garbage job anymore. I got enough money and I'll wait until I find a job that I want. What if teachers got stressed out all the time, which they do, right? And said, fuck this job, I'm quitting, because they had that parachute there for them. If everybody had that safety net there for them. If everybody had the safety net, it wouldn't drive them to say, hey, I'm going to make the best of it. They just quit left and right.
Well,
you have complete anarchy.
I think some of them, it's not about the safety net though. UBI is supposed to allow you to be able to do what it is that you want to do.
But here's the thing. The reality is.
Let me finish.
But you cut me off before I finished, bro.
Oh, you was talking for 5 minutes. I thought you was done.
Get some help.
Probably 5 minutes. Go ahead, you got it.
All right, let me finish this point, right? Is the fact of, I get the point of UBI, but the thing is, the reality is not everybody could be in the NBA. Not everybody can be an NFL player. Not everybody can be an artist. Not everybody could be all things. But we do need people to fill up, including bullshit jobs. We need people to fill up other areas of society other than just the ones that they want to do. Life is not just about what you want to do. Life is also about what you have to do. And very few of us are altruistic enough to do what we have to do or do what is necessary for the greater good. I'm done. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think some people might want to collect garbage, and I think that's that I don't think you can pigeonhole that statement and make it like people don't want to do certain jobs because we don't
say not nobody. I said not enough.
No, we don't know what people want to do, and we don't know if it's not enough people. We don't know that this doctor doesn't want to be a garbage collector because he doesn't want to ride on the back of a truck and not have to think about shit but collecting garbage. But the fucking doctor gets paid more than the goddamn garbage man. So I'm gonna be a doctor, even though I hate being this shit. But I would like to be on the fucking back of the truck and be like a dog with my fucking hair out blowing in the wind. We don't know that shit, so we can't speak on that because we don't know. You know what I mean? People get jobs based on what they think they can make. That's what we do know. People generally want to work a job that they think that they could, well, how many years do I got to go to school for this? Well, shit, I ain't got to pay for that. I can go for this. I'll be this person. Most people we know go to college for X amount of careers or jobs, and they never work those. We know that also. Like, that's a fact. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's about, I think the UBI allows people to do this, to want to work in the thing that you want to work in. But as you said, Black Zeus, if I just want to pick flowers for a living, like I just want to pick flowers. Like, that's not a real job, because you're picking these flowers just to pick them, or are you picking them to give them to the community? Are you picking them to beautify our country or our city? That's different. You know what I mean? I still think that I still think that the UBI would allow people to see what their real potential is and what they really want to do. You know what I mean? As opposed to having these BS jobs of being a telemarketer, which I was before, or selling fucking cutlery, which I've done before. You know what I mean? These are all like high school, in between high school, college gigs and shit. You come home for the summer, you're trying to work type shit. Nobody wants to give you a job or intern and all that good shit. So I've done the bullshit jobs. You know what I mean? Like, for me to go out and sell somebody cutlery, a motherfucker know if they need some cutlery. You know if your fucking cutlery is bad, and you know if you need some. I don't have to. And for me to call you a telemarketer and say, hey, your refrigerator or your car or whatever, you know what I mean? You know when your shit is breaking down. You don't. That's a bullshit job. You know, and it's more of a nuisance and an annoyance to people. Those shits aren't needed. Society will be a lot better if people work for what they love, as opposed to people working for money. You know what I mean? But I think that we're set up to work for the money because that's how we're just raised. That's our society. So, yeah, to answer your question, I don't think it'll ever change. I think you're going to have here and you're going to have there. And I don't think everything in the middle is bullshit. I think these people in the middle are working the jobs that keep America moving. I think the people at the bottom end are doing bullshit. I think some of the people at the top end are doing bullshit. But I think the people in the middle are what keeps us moving as a fucking whole. You know what I mean?
You know, one of my issues, and this probably could tie into my question I had to piggyback off Schubert's question. One of my issues I have with this author, he's an anarchist, you know, and he has this sort of idealistic approach that, all right, you provide UBI to folks, they will be productive. I think one of the misnomers that this author might have is, or his blind spot is, you might have people that just might just indulge in just more juvenile delinquent shit. Like, you know, if you don't have people at least do, and I hate to say this, at least do some monotonous BS jobs. Like, one of my favorite cliches is idle hands is the devil workshop. Not everyone has a hobby. Not everyone has an interest. Now, you might say, well, this gives them
or
the time
drive.
to find, or drive. Now, you might say, well, this gives them the time to find that. But there's some people who just were like, nah, I'm good. Like, I was reading an article the other day from Bloomberg in regards of the millennial generation is like the laid back generation. Like they basically, the article is insinuating that we like to just not do anything. And, you know, you have people are like that. No drive, no ambitions. They really don't really care to do much of anything. And those people could be destructive, not only to themselves, but to society. And I think this author's approach when it comes to this whole, like, well, you know, everyone's going to find their passion. Everyone's going to be able to do something that's productive, whether it's for themselves or society, is foolish. You know, if anything, I might think that, you know, you might have a roaming, you know, gang. Like, you could start doing, I don't know. I like the pessimist. Go ahead, Black Zeus.
No, the whole thing is thinking about what Hawk was saying, right? You know, and the whole thing is two parts. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you that the people in the middle are the ones that make everything go around. But the whole thing is not everybody wants to do the jobs that are needed and necessary. That's the thing. That's this foolish thing. So let's keep it 100, right? We know teachers that, you know, they wanted to be I've met teachers who wanted originally to be a sportscaster, that wanted to play a certain sport. This teaching's what they fell on backwards. All right. It was like, oh, my dream didn't work out, so I guess I'll go into teaching since I have a degree.
Stop there. Let me say this right quick, Black Zeus. You know how many teachers were in other careers and then started teaching, though?
Let me finish.
Because that's really big. No.
Let me finish my point.
Oh no, yeah. I wanted you to.
I know that happens. Just like I know there's teachers that actually
Black Zeus. There are a lot more teachers who switch careers than who actually go into teaching, and I need you to know that. But before you say that point, that you're saying,
I'm giving you an example.
I know, and I'm trying to make you have it a right example because there are a lot more teachers who switch careers.
I know that there's more.
Like there are a lot more teachers who were like with Black Zeus is not what Black Zeus is doing, what Cash is doing, working in corporate 500s and Fortune 500, and then they switch after 20 years type shit. After 10 years, a lot of the teachers didn't come. I just wanted you to acknowledge that. You can't say like people go into teaching and they like, oh, I don't want to. People come from a different career to start teaching. Teaching isn't a glorified, sexy job. People don't go into.
No one said that. Let me finish my point. Please stop cutting me off.
Go ahead. My fault. I apologize.
I'm talking about a small minority of teachers, right? Those small minority of teachers can have a detrimental effect on the system. All right. They can be, or they might turn around and be like, you know what? I love teaching. Who knows? Whatever the case may be. But the reality, my point is that, and I'm just using teaching as an example because he used that as like, he made it seem like everybody who goes into teaching, that was their first choice. And we know that not to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
We know that not to be the case. It's not their first choice. And even in your example, you made my point that those people went into another career for 20 some odd years and then decided to go teaching. So once again, it proves my point where it wasn't their first choice. So my point,
like this
but let me finish, please. What my point is the fact is, we as a society do not have enough spots for everybody to get their first choice. And to say that if I don't get my first choice, which UBI will basically say this, if I don't get my first choice, then I don't have to do anything at all. I don't have to fall where I'm needed. I just want to do what I want to do. And that's not how society works. We have needs as a society. We need the guy that works at Staples to help us find paper. We need the person who straightens up the shelves at the supermarket. We need the garbage man who has to shoo the rats away from the trash. We need all these businesses. They're not sexy. Some people, there's a lot of people that won't want to do them. A lot of people that won't want to do them. All right. But people do them out of necessity. All right. Necessity. And that's the thing, is the fact that our society is based off of filling necessary roles. After that, after we filled up all the necessary roles, all the extra people who can no longer get their dream job, 1, or fill a necessity job, 2, end up going to a bullshit job, 3. Because you can't get the job you want, you can't get the job that is needed, so you get the bullshit job. That's just inevitable in an overpopulated society as we have now. So to say that UBI is going to fix the problem of bullshit jobs is fucking stupid.
No, I don't think it'll fix the jobs, but once again, you got to remember that people go for the bullshit jobs because, like the preschool teacher in this book that we're referring to, she was only making $8.25 an hour, but her love was to be a preschool teacher, but she could not be that because it could not pay the fucking bills.
Exactly. So
no. Listen, let me go. That was her first love. Her first love was to be a preschool teacher. I want to be a preschool teacher, but preschool teaching doesn't pay my fucking bills, so therefore I need to do something else because being a preschool teacher doesn't afford my lifestyle at all. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. So it's not about even those people that did something for 20 other years. They wanted to do this possibly, but they said, damn, this don't pay the bills. And if it don't pay the bills, you end up doing a bullshit job. That's what the whole book is about. That's where the universal basic income comes. Because if I get some money, then maybe I can just do what I love as opposed to just doing some bullshit.
But what if it's something that you love is bullshit to society?
Like what?
Picking flowers, like you said.
Or
I
basket weaving.
I said picking flowers and not, but basket weaving is not, that works. Picking flowers and not doing anything with the flowers, that doesn't work. You understand?
But how many baskets can you possibly sell?
How many baskets do you have in your house right now? How many baskets do you have in your house? Go around your house and count the fucking baskets, and then you ask
all right, maybe not basket weaving.
Let's say I got 20 baskets.
Not basket weaving.
Stop.
Weaving is an art
Let's say
form,
I have.
tangible.
Let's say I have 20 baskets.
I got 3 baskets right here. Shit.
All right, so let's say I got 20 baskets in my house. How many more baskets can I possibly need?
It depends on what you're putting in your house.
When I get to a certain point,
why would you have 20 baskets? It depends on what you're putting in your house. Maybe you're making baskets for plants to put plants in. I don't know what these baskets are being used for. Maybe these baskets are being used as hampers. I don't know. So I can't.
But I'm just saying, like, not every hobby or interest is a benefit to society. So now
I agree, and I said give me one. And the only one that we really came up with is the picking flowers and not giving them to anybody.
Yeah.
Outside of that, what leaf collecting? I mean, that is a benefit to society if you collect leaves off the street. So I'm just saying, give me an example. We got to have examples for this thing. We can't just.
Well, the thing is, I don't know. We all know there's bullshit ass. Like, all right, what about?
We should know an example, then, Cash.
Right,
we should know an example.
What if you want to spend your time collecting coins?
A coin collector?
Yeah.
That
don't serve people any. That don't serve society any benefit.
It could if I'm doing the history of coins, or it could be.
But how does it?
It also could be if I'm picking up all the coins off the street so that they don't go into the sewer and fuck up the infiltration system of the sewers. Listen, you got to have a good sound argument, and you know that you can't just say.
But dog, but what if you're not doing it for the benefit of, like you just said, of having the coin, quite possibly.
The only one, again, you're flower picking. That's the only one I can come up with. You're just picking flowers just to be picking them. That doesn't serve a purpose. You know what I mean? Because coin and anything else, unless you can tell me why it tangibly wouldn't serve a purpose, you got to really explain why it wouldn't serve a purpose. You know what I mean? Garbage.
But what if I'm just saying, but if the individual is collecting coins not to sort of do this environmental friendly sort of initiative, but they're just wanting to collect coins so that they could just
are they doing it for historical purposes so they can tell the students history or tell people history of coins? And I don't know. That's what I'm saying. You can't just arbitrarily put it into a little box and wrap that shit up that easy.
But dog, like, to me, honest, like, I just don't see how. All right, let's say you study the history of coins. How does that really beneficially benefit society? I just don't see that. Like,
because if we're talking about the history and we want to know where money originated from and when it went from a wooden buffalo nickel, because remember it was a wooden buffalo nickel, and then it went over to the silver, and we want to translate that so we can follow the history to see where we're going. That's different. It's different.
You're putting more. You know what it is?
Wait, Cash. People study pyramids for what reason? Why do people study pyramids?
Some people study the pyramids for the architectural reasons, the engineering aspects of it.
Exactly, and they want to know how did they engineer it back in the days like this, right? Without proper tools. Okay, so that's the same thing with the coins, bro. You got to give me something different. Like I said, the only thing that we got right now, and I came up with that one, is the flower collecting. That would be like, I'm trying to give you another one, but I can't really come up with one because everything can be beneficial if it's made to be. I'm not talking about, now we get into what your job is, and we talk about that white collar, because a lot of this shit came into white collar stuff. You know what I mean? The human resource assistant.
Okay.
The human resource service. That's where a lot of this came from. Now, we're talk about more of the bullshit. You know what I mean? Because do you need a human resource assistant?
No, but we're talking about allowing people to do what's in their best interest.
And I'm saying,
like, not everything is what's.
And I told you to give me one idea. I said, give me an example. You said basket weaving, and I said that's not a good one. Listen. You're saying there's so many jobs, but you can't give me an example.
I never said there was so many jobs. I'm saying that
you said doing what people want to do. You just
exactly.
I never
jobs.
Said doing what if I want to be a skateboard enthusiast or a spelunker or a surfer? How does that benefit society?
There you go. No, those are good. That's what I was asking Cash. I'm like, give me something else to piggyback off. Because a surfer, I don't know how that benefits society. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a good example. That's what I was telling Cash. Like, you saying the basket weaving, motherfuckers got baskets. They need baskets. I'm just saying.
But what,
a surfer,
but using my
but what I'm saying is,
don't need a surfer.
But what I'm saying is, not everyone's hobby or interest is beneficial to society.
I
might not think
about.
I
agree with that. I agree with that.
And I'm saying, like, yo, that's the downfall of this. It's just like, I think you can't. If the way David Graeber present this argument, he make it sound as though everyone is capable of contributing to society if they were to basically indulge in their self-interest, and I call bullshit on that.
I agree with you.
So, for instance,
on that because most people don't even know what their self-interests are. They're living other people's lives. So I definitely call.
So, for instance, I'll give you an example of that. When I went to my son's elementary school graduation, 80% of the boys, when they were said, "Hey, what do they want to do with themselves?" Right? 80% of them said, "I want to be a gamer and a YouTuber." How does that benefit society? That you want to play video games and put your video game gameplay on YouTube. How does that benefit society? That's what they want to do. You can't tell them that they're wrong. You got grown-ass men that spend hours on PlayStation or whatever the fuck video game is going on right now. I don't really know. You know what I mean? 30, 40 years old. You can't tell them shit. You can't beat me on NBA Live. You can't beat me on Madden.
It benefits society by giving them entertainment. You can't just be all work. So
No. You're the whole thing is the point
you asked
is
the question.
if you give them UBI, right, and they say, all right, fine, I'm going to play video games all my life. Now society is paying for this person to sit around the house and play video games. By the way, where's this money supposed to come from?
Okay, and I got a question for you, Black Zeus, and I'm going to still go with my argument. I don't give a fuck. It is about entertainment. Because you said to me and to this group weeks ago, and I agree with you, that our children watch other people play fucking video games.
Absolutely.
Entertainment.
Here's the thing.
Hey. Let me finish. It's entertainment still, Black Zeus. Come on now. All I'm saying is
here's the problem with
whether it's beneficial, I think it is because it gives you an outlet. I'm just saying. It gives you an outlet to do something outside of yourself.
But it goes back to the point that if everybody is a video game YouTuber and every channel is video game YouTube, what else are we producing? Because guess what? Because I don't care. Because at the end of the day, not everybody wants to watch that shit.
You're right.
And even if you're into gaming and YouTube, you can't possibly watch 5,000 channels of YouTube or 50,000 or 500,000 YouTube channels of video games.
And to add to Schubert's, but hold on, to add to Schubert's argument, we have a shortage of skilled, quality people as is, and we don't even have UBI in effect. Imagine UBI in effect.
Oh no! I said UBI is some bullshit. Don't
understand what I said. I thought you was in support.
No. I never supported. I never supported Oprah Winfrey saying you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. I never supported that. That's what we talking about. I never said that.
Yeah.
I'm just arguing the side that's saying what is a job that we consider to be. You know what I mean? Because you can't write everything off. You know what I mean? What we think is bullshit might not be bullshit. It might actually be something that's tangible. That's all I'm saying. But no, I don't know what? There's a universal base income because
all right, let's transition to the next question.
Cash want to make cookies all day and you want to make brownies. Nigga, that ain't benefiting me. Yeah, I'm hungry. Okay, I'm eating junk food all the time. I don't need you making cookies and brownies. That don't benefit me. I don't need that.
Hey, Hot, I got some herbal essence brownies over here. And I'm pretty sure you'd be interested in. I'm pretty sure you'd be interested in, bro.
In chapter 7, the author states this is not a book on solutions because he believes policies can be usurped. He doesn't believe in solutions that will give more power to corporations or governments, but to the people. Can a society be successfully run without a government system? If so, describe the society.
Without a government system or without a system?
A government system. Because he basically said, yo, this is like chapter 7 to 8. He's like, yo, this is not a book of solutions, because he feel like solutions could get corrupted by big entities like corporations and the government.
No, I got that. I got a question.
So I'm like, okay, if that's the question, I was like, if that's the case, what does a successful society look like without a government system? Can you see it? And if so, I would like for, if you guys agree with this, describe that a society without a government system in place.
Man did one. Killer Mike did a society like this.
Really?
Yeah.
Describe it. Yeah.
Killer Mike did a society like this where, the problem was, the society, they still say that society needs a leader. And if society needs a leader, you already fucked yourself with the government part.
Yep.
You understand? So that's why I was saying, you talk about government or you talk about a system? Because a system of still having a leader in place, or a system of having somebody who is the higher up or the go-to person, is still a government system in my eyes.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
So
exactly.
The chief of the tribe will always represent the government of the tribe.
Yeah.
So, and everything that's attached to the chief, his lieutenant, his secretary, his treasurer, his warden, his captain, whatever you want to call his groom of the stool. Did you hear that part of the book?
Yeah.
The groom of the stool.
The groom of the stool. What do? Your job's gonna be great. You're gonna clean out the shithole that the king shits in. That's your job. You the groom of the stool. Like what?
Make sure ain't no shit in there.
Yeah, you make sure you clean out that porta potty for the king. All right.
Yeah, but even in Killer Mike's one, I think they still had because they wanted Killer Mike to be the leader, but they still ended up needing to have a leader. So I don't think you can have it. You can't have that without.
You cannot have a society without government.
But Black Zeus, if we got rules in place, for our society, could that work?
Nope.
Because we still need somebody to know if you broke the rule.
Yep.
Well, wait. Could we be a society where we vote on whether you broke the rule, though?
You can be a society that whether you broke the rule, but the whole thing is, at the end of the day, you still got to have somebody play the judge.
Well, do we need a judge, or could the group be the judge and we vote on everything?
Technically, the group could, but then the group has the power. Would it be the entire society that makes a vote on this shit?
The society is the group.
And here's the other aspect. Certain groups would collude together. So if I want to, let's say I will
start creating those. But
so let's say I was part of the alphabet group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the OGBTQWXYZ group, right?
I'm part of.
All I got to do is get a bunch of like-minded people, outnumber the other side, and now we can dictate how society is going to be ruled because we outnumber you.
Because you outnumbered them, yeah.
So now we've created our own government within the system.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that shit works.
No, I agree. That's how it works. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. It works just like that. It goes.
So you can't get around it
because you always need. Even if we in a game, shit. Even with that movie I told y'all to watch, there's a head of there's a head. There's a leader.
There's always a leader. There's always leaders, lieutenants.
It's like
I haven't seen much movies where I've watched it because I like to watch that dystopian society. I haven't seen many movies where they had everybody being equal and have an equal say and everything is.
So, for instance, even like if you look at a household, like a family household, like me, my wife, and my son, right? The whole thing is, at the end of the day, me and my wife are the heads of the household. In title, whatever the case is, we run the house together. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the final hard decisions, they come down to me. I'm the one that has to make the more responsible, adult decisions, financial decisions, because guess what? A, my wife is not good at doing that. And B, she doesn't want to do it. So it still becomes a government where there's a leader, there's a head.
Yeah. Yeah, I really can't add much to what you guys discussed because I came across it perked my ears when he said that. I was like, all right, well, you're not gonna be a book on solutions, cool, whatever. But then to have that explanation just felt stupid. Just like, dude, you really are not necessarily saying much of anything, and you're completely devoid of how societies actually operate. They always operate under the guise of a government structure, if you want to, admit it or not. So
now I will say this: if we had a society where the people got more of a chance to vote on things, so I forget which government operates that way, but it operates a lot slower, but the people are more happy with the government because the people actually make a decision. So before people like Biden could pass legislation on, let's say,
mandates,
these mandates, whatever the case is, they have to put it out to the people.
Yeah.
So essentially, the people have to vote, and he is simply the executor of the decision of the people's decision. He doesn't make the decision on his own. So there are governments that do work that way. They work very slowly because of the fact that you got to get all the people involved, and that way the people do feel more involved. And some people feel like it's tedious, but at the end of the day, like overall, the people know that nothing's going to get past them without their consent.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to get past them without their consent.
Well, that was the whole premise of America, the concept of America. Unfortunately, it hasn't necessarily played itself out like that in recent decades. All right, let's jump into your question. What do you think is the core catalyst of BS jobs? Well, according to this author, capitalism, which is some bullshit. But I'm going to go back to my answer, my question from last week. You got too many people. You have way too many people. Schubert pointed out just in America alone, United States of America, that is, you have 331 million people. Let's say 2/3 of that are of working adult age. That's 219 million people. What do you think is, will come out of that? Like, of course, it's going to be some BS jobs to accommodate a percentage of those 219 working adult people. There's not that many meaningful jobs that will benefit society out there. As Schubert pointed out last week, there's a finite of actual productive jobs out there.
Well, I think that I'm not sure what the catalyst is, but Barack Obama kind of summed that shit up when he said,
where he's eliminating the medical industry.
He said if we get rid of it was paper pushers, but he said if we get rid of these jobs, what are we going to do with the 3 million people? Where are they going to work? What are they going to do? You know what I mean? Like it was pretty straightforward, because it's like, what are those 3 million people going to do if they're not working and doing these bullshit jobs? So he said they were bullshit jobs. It was something about, with the medical, where they could do away, they could streamline it a lot easier. It could be more efficient. But if they did that, then what would the 3 million people do that were actually working these jobs? Which resonates with me, because it's like, what are those 3 million people going to do? Are they going to get the UBI? You know what I mean? Are they doing the UBI thing? Are they?
And keep in mind, the UBI is not supposed to be like a full out salary. It's like a supplement.
No, it's only for your needs of living.
Yeah,
your basic needs. So
basic needs.
We're talking about maybe 25,000.
Which well, I was about to say, it's only for your basic needs, which is your food, clothing, shelter, basically. Your basic needs. Now, you might want steak, but you might have to have top ramen, motherfucker. But it's your basic needs.
You get by, you'll survive.
But I think I'm not sure what the core of the catalyst, besides the fact that to piggyback what you all said, it's too many people, and like Barack Obama said, where would these people go? What are they going to do? Do you have 3 million people who sit at home and collect unemployment? Like, where do they go?
Oh, listen, it's like I said, people don't like the truth. People don't like the truth, but it's an ugly truth, but it is what it is. What are you talking about? The minority population, like in impoverished neighborhoods, this, that, and the other, where people are producing more kids than they can support or take care of or even want to have. Or if you're talking about America as a whole, where we have a population issue.
So I got questions.
Essentially, you would have to say, here's how you would have to say, right? Essentially, you would have to, this is just an imaginary world, right? You would have to say, okay, for every extra attorney, every extra paper pusher, this, that, and the other, you would have to move them out of places like New York, like California, LA, all these overpopulated areas. Say, listen, you want a job, you got to move to a rural area that has not been developed and has room for development. That's what you would have to do. Because at the end of the day, most of these bullshit jobs are in highly populated areas. Highly populated areas where there's more people than there are jobs. That's just what it boils down to. So if you move, some of these people said, listen, move your ass out to Ohio, move your ass out to Nebraska, move your ass out to all these areas that are not as populated, right? So that way we can spread you motherfuckers out, and each, state, each, county becomes its own ecosystem, has, each county has X amount of lawyers, X amount of this, X amount of that, and it's spread out a little. We might be able to have everybody do what they want to do, because now we got more people spread out instead of people on top of each other. But because people are on top of each other and everybody's trying to cram into the elevator, there's only but so much space. Some of you motherfuckers need to wait for the next fucking elevator. The capacity is only 3,000 pounds. And some of you motherfuckers fat as hell. It's just the facts. People don't like it, but it is the facts.
Yeah, I got a question though, right? So that's cool. Out of the, what is it? I want to say about 3 million. Last take I was looking. Out of the 3 million jobs that America is trying to give to people, could be more than that. How many of them shits are bullshit jobs?
We went over this, last week we were just saying. So like when they report, well, there's 10.3 unfulfilled jobs, we discussed this. Just like how many of those 10.3 jobs are actually, bullshit, where it's like bullshit service jobs or bullshit, admin jobs. I think we don't know the concrete numbers, but you could assume that the reason why those jobs go unfulfilled, because you have some people might say like, I know this industry, I know that job is bullshit, I'd rather stay home and collect unemployment because I know that this job is bullshit.
Or they might, they might just be unhappy with the job, period. Like you said, if they were a lawyer or if they were a doctor and they wanted to be a garbage man, supposedly, like maybe they're just unhappy with the job.
Well, there's a lot of jobs in hospitality and shit. People aren't taking those. They could not have been unhappy with them and shit, but at the end of the day, I mean,
it depends on where in hospitality. So one of my clients, she works in hospitality and lost her job. She wants to be in hospitality, but the whole thing is, one, she's not going to get the income that she was making before. Like even the place where she was working at, the Marriott, all right, the Marriott Marquis, no less, which is one of the flagship Marriotts. They fired everybody and said, hey, if you want to come back to work for us, you work for half of what you were making before. All right, that alone made people say, fuck you, I'm not coming back.
Exactly.
So I don't go back to that job. So do I go to a fast food industry, or do I go into a bullshit job?
Well, here's the thing.
But there are still jobs that aren't being filled, and I know it makes people feel a certain way if they're not, I don't know everybody's like history and life and who went to school and who did that and what troubles or children they had. I don't give a fuck about your sob story, to be honest with you, because I got my own sob story. No, I'm just kidding. At
the end of the day, beggars can't be choosers.
That's what I'm saying. Like at some point, you still want to do this, but at what point do you decide that I need to go and do a bullshit job, or I need to go and get this money because I need to make money for what I need to make money for? And like you said, beggars can't be choosers, because you could have been choosy, so you ain't have to be a fucking beggar. I'm just saying. You could have chosen a different route. Therefore, you wouldn't have to beg later. I'm just saying. This is how it
not
happens.
for nothing, but you know,
I got my own sob store.
If you look at if you look at those guys that are standing outside of Home Depot waiting for work before COVID, you could have got any one of those guys for $50 to $100 a day to do work, whether it be landscaping, moving, this, that, and the other. Some of these guys are out here now asking $300 a day because the landscape has changed and that you can't find motherfuckers to come out here and do the work.
It has changed, but I got one question for you. Are they saying $300 and they show you that they fully vaccinated? I'm just curious.
It's the same way that you wasn't asking if they had legal papers.
I ain't give a fuck about legal papers.
You weren't talking about a criminal background check. No, you weren't talking about a criminal background check.
I don't care if you're a criminal. I don't care if you're a criminal. I don't care nothing about that.
No, what I'm saying,
I only care if you're vaccinated. And I hear you, but I'm saying.
It's like, yo, nobody was asking no questions before. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now it's just like, so now you still can't ask me questions, and I raise my price.
The higher hell. And that's what I'm saying. There's always, you're hiring people. Those aren't bullshit jobs. That work needs to get done. Like there's always.
And that's the thing.
And I still think that a lot of the, where the bullshit jobs come in, still goes back to like companies and shit. You know what I mean? I don't think companies and government. I don't think it's like there aren't too many bullshit jobs in like a mom and pop store. You know what I mean? Even when you have Tyler working for you in your fucking store. It's not a bullshit job. You know what I mean? You're teaching your son how to run a business till when you leave. I don't think that's a bullshit job. I don't think there's a lot of bullshit jobs in mom and pop stores. Even when they get the little things to like sweep up in front, I don't think that's a bullshit job.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Mom and pop stores also don't have the growth or the stability to support any bullshit jobs.
No, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. You probably don't see them there. I don't see a lot of bullshit jobs in I don't see a lot of bullshit jobs in the teaching part of it, but I see it in the administration part of it. You know what I mean? Like I see a lot of bullshit jobs on the higher up parts.
Oh, absolutely.
And their decisions is bullshit. The way they be cutting curriculums and stuff. I'm like, hold on. Yeah, I be hating that shit.
It's the fact of all of a sudden, like
jobs on the low end.
I have yet for someone to explain to me why, when I was growing up, one principal and one vice principal was good enough. Now you need 2 principals and 6 vice principals.
Mm-hmm.
You need a vice principal for every subject. We need a history vice principal. We need a science vice principal. We need a math vice principal. Let's mute that bullshit.
Yeah, I never heard that either, yo. That was crazy. Like the most I had, we had 2 vice principal, but it was broken up by school grade. So we had the vice principal from kindergarten to 4th grade, and from 5th grade to 8th grade.
Yeah,
and you know what? And I'll tell you, I'll be 100 with you. Somebody told me the politics of it. The whole thing is that they used to have like a lead teacher that would be like the head of the science department or the math department, this, that, and the other. And then when politicians said, "Y'all don't need no lead teacher for this department. This is bullshit. This, that, and the other." The teachers even found a loophole where those lead teachers, so they won't lose their job, just went and got emergency certified as a vice principal. Bang, there you go. Now you got 6 and 7 vice principals in the school.
Yeah.
Or just think about this: how many principals you have? All these principals of schools and superintendent of school who've never even been a fucking teacher, but yet they're running a school. How do you know what? Like, if you don't know what it is to be a foot soldier, how the fuck can you be a general and make those decisions?
Yeah, I never understood that leaping of positions like that. In some cases, I get it. In other cases, I'm like, that doesn't necessarily sit well with me. And this goes across all industries.
Look, you got to test the classroom in North. You can't just be skipping around and shit.
Yeah. All right, let's get into another question. Let's get into, in chapter 6, the author cites psychological studies that people of working class backgrounds tend to be more empathetic than those of middle class and rich backgrounds. Unfortunately, the author doesn't cite any of these studies performed. If this is to be true, what can be done to repair those blinders of the middle class and rich class?
Once again, going back to what I was just saying, if you've never been a foot soldier, how could you know what, how can you empathize as a general? So the whole thing is, when you're talking about the working class, you're talking about the foot soldiers, you're talking about the grunts, you're talking about the guys that's on the fucking battle line. All right. They're out there putting blood in the mud. They're the one dealing with the real shit. All right. The whole thing is that those guys sitting in the general, sitting in the office somewhere with 5 stars across their chest, they've never been out there. They never had to been out there because they took the college route and became an officer, and then after that moved up in rank. They never actually had to put no blood in the mud. So for them, it's all paperwork. It's all statistics. It's all numbers. They don't know the sacrifice and the struggles of these soldiers. They don't know what it feels like to be in that fucking mud. They don't know what it is to be in that fucking cold. They don't know what it is to be under fire. So their decision making and their empathy does not fucking exist. I mean, when we talk about our president is the fucking chief and commander, where he can say, "All right, you niggas going to war." And, he sits in a nice, comfortable, Alaskan king-size bed with climate control while he's sending your ass overseas to sleep in the dirt and in the mud. It's easy for him to make that fucking decision because he doesn't experience it. So it's the same fucking thing. The working class understands what it is. They're on the ground. And if you've never been part of the working class, why would you empathize? Why would you empathize? You're like, oh, they didn't work up to get to where I'm at. They didn't work to where, I'm the corporate executive of yada, yada, yada company. You know what I mean? You've never been there. You don't know what it is. So,
it's you're right. You don't know what it is to be that. You don't know. Like I tend to tip differently because I've been on that other side. Mm-hmm. So when you know what that's like, you know what it is when you go out. To be the working class, but I don't know. I don't know necessarily about the middle class that he's talking about.
I
got an issue with that part a little bit because it's not like some middle class people might take that, but most middle class people are still empathetic. Most middle class people that I know, most that I know, they still will go in a pocket and give. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the whole thing is that same middle class will go up and Dunkin' Donuts and be like, "Speak English, motherfucker! You're in America."
Not the middle class that I know. That's why I said when you said you was going to Dunkin' Donuts and you weren't going to Starbucks, I said, "Oh, see what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You see that slight nuance? You said you was going to Dunkin' Donuts. You didn't say you were going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
If you would have said you was going to Starbucks, like where my brother goes, I would have thought something different of you. I'm just saying. But I know America. But I know that America. Listen, hear what I'm saying. I know that America runs on Dunkin'. I'm just saying, like you
stupid.
I know that America runs on
Dunkin'. I like the way you did that.
You know what I mean? So my brother, there was a Starbucks. That's why I was asking. You going to Dunkin' Donuts? Like, you going to Dunkin' Donuts? Oh, that's because anyway. But I still think that middle class is. I still think that there's a lot of empathy in that middle class. Remember, the middle class is not that far removed from the working class. The middle class is the working class in my eyes right now. They might not be doing the shit jobs, you know what I mean? But they're doing the fucking shit jobs still, I think. They're not doing the shitty of the shit jobs like a collector of trash or cleaning up shit, you know what I mean, at the local park or some shit. But
but the whole thing is, when I think of the working class, I don't think it's as obsolete. I don't think it's as absolute. Like the whole thing is, yes, you're gonna have working class. You could be working class and be middle class at the same token. Whether you're a plumber, a garbage man, you could be middle class. I
think there's a lot of working middle class.
But the whole thing is, we're not talking about the working middle class. We're talking about the administrative middle class. We're talking about the office middle class. We're talking about the middle class that has never had to have those experiences. We're talking about the Karens, of the workforce. You know what I mean? They never had those
middle class where, once again,
not as a whole.
No, you're talking about the middle class where my man gave his son the job and he knew it was a bullshit job.
Exactly, that middle class.
Where his son never knew what the struggle was because his son got a cushion.
There you go. Right. Exactly. That's the middle class that we're referring to. We're not just
that's a different kind of middle class.
Because you did a better job explaining that away than the author did. I just want to say that, Shu.
Oh.
No, seriously, because that's why I put in parentheses Unfortunately, now granted, this is the downfall of listening to books in Audible, because you don't know if there's footnotes to this shit when he made that statement. But I felt like when he said middle class, I thought along the lines of Smith. I thought working, because I'm like, yo, there's working middle class. Like, what do he mean by middle class? Like, I know plenty of people who are middle class who donate volunteer their time,
and that's the problem,
and all that. Yeah.
That's the problem with these. That's the problem with these broad titles and positions, because it's such a broad net that it pulls in those that are involved and those that are not involved. So the whole thing is, I can say something like with some truth, but also some nuance to it. So I can say, Black people use drugs, and there's some truth to that. But there's also Black people who don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is,
you're not saying all Black people use drugs.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, we typically think in absolutes. We don't think in general or in nuance. We always think in absolutes. And the other problem is about when we think about in absolutes is that when we do speak about something in a general, we always have to feel like we have to reach out to the nuance when that person's speaking in general. So for instance, when I was talking about the nuance of the teachers that go into the workforce as their secondary thing, Smith had to point out the general. And I'm like, I'm not talking about the general. I know that the general exists, but I'm talking about the nuance at this point in time. That's what I'm speaking of. You know what I mean? But because he's hearing teachers, he's thinking absolutes and saying, hey, let me point out the generals. I know about the general. My wife is a general. My sister is a general. My other sister is a general. My clients are generals. I have plenty of generals, but I'm talking about the nuance. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is that we have to be clear about these terms and how we speak of them, because the fact that there's such broad terms.
Yeah. And he made it sound like, even using the term working class backgrounds, I'm like, to Smith's point once again, it's as though working class people can't be middle class. Part of the oh my God, the Great Migration that happened with Black folks, a lot of those Black people became middle class, but they still was part of the working class. So it just, I don't know, this author,
they went from making 75 cents on some farm down south to making $5
exactly
over at a car manufacturing company.
That's the thing. I think they don't understand. I think part of it is still those societal changes, because when we were all born at a certain period, we will all be meeting up and going to the factory together.
But the other problem is the fact of
money. No, but I'm saying we will all pretty much make the same amount of money. We will all go back home to our wives, and then guess what? The next day we will meet up at this fucking factory again. You know what I mean? That was the livelihood of American society as a whole. It's not like you just said, the nuances where, oh no, I'm gonna go do this shit. I'm gonna go do this shit, and you the factory worker. I don't get my hands dirty. Everybody was getting their hands dirty at one point in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody's getting their hands dirty. And the fact of, at the end of the day, we used to be a society that respected people for just having a job. But now, because of our turn in our ideas of employment, because now you have to have a college degree for every fucking thing, including I don't know, making my cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, you need a fucking college degree, whatever. But because of that, now we look down on those who don't have a certain level of employment. So we might have two people making this.
Oh shit! What happened? Did I freeze?
Like you're looking at we don't look at people. When you ask somebody at the office party, or you just go and meet somebody, you're asking them, so what do you do? You meet somebody at the party, what do you do? Not who are you? What do you do? And he said, if somebody said, oh, I play the guitar, I like to play the guitar, you'd be looking like, okay, motherfucker. I said, what do you do? Like, I'm asking you, what do you work? I don't give a fuck about your hobbies and you want to play the guitar. You know, it's like, that's what we pride ourselves on. So when you look at people, and the first thing, I mean, you all are past this, but Black Zeus was out. I mean, Cash was out yesterday and shit. But if you sit at the bar, you ask somebody, hey, so, like, what do you do? A motherfucker's going to give you like their resume of what they do.
Yep.
I mean, they're not going to tell you they do no bullshit job. They're going to try to sell themselves to you. I do this and I do this and I, and it's like, okay, motherfucker, I just asked what you do. Like, I don't give a fuck about all that bullshit.
Yo, I shit you not. Anytime I've been asked that question, I shit you not. I say, what I do is boring.
What I do is boring.
Yeah, it's just like
I'm not gonna lie. I fuck with people.
Yeah.
It depends on the scenario where I'm at a party and people say, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm a retired, porn star."
but let me pose this question: do you blame the college institutions for this sort of elitism amongst the middle class, the administrative middle class and rich class? Like,
you just posing that.
Yeah, I'm posing that question. Like, do you?
Because
Schubert said something earlier that made me think of that question.
So yes and no. I blame colleges, because the whole fact is colleges play a part into the system of making people believe that if you haven't gone through this part of the system, that you have no validation. To the point where even when I've talked to people about like the data points that 9 out of 10 people don't end up in the careers that they went to school for, that kids are ending up $100,000 in debt to get a job that they could have got without that college education, or make the same salary in another job making that same without the debt. This, that, and the other. People still want to point out, no, but statistically show that the person who has a college education makes $1 million more, over a lifetime. It's like, but if you end up $100,000 in debt up front, plus interest rates, and the struggle will put you behind, versus if somebody said take that $100,000 and you get to invest it into into an investment account, into S&P 500, or take that $100,000, buy a property, and that person would be substantially more wealthy down the line versus the pennies you're going to pay them of $1 million over a lifetime. Like, and they still would argue me down, even though the fact of I'm talking about the current statistics, the current climate. I'm not talking about back in 1980, 1990, where a bachelor's degree had power. But that's how well doctrinated we are into the system. And the thing is that it doesn't help that the government made it so that, like, oh yeah, charge them whatever you want. Charge them whatever you want. We'll pay the bill. Truth is, no, the government ain't paying the bill. They putting that shit on that student and keeping them in the system where they're, in debt for the rest of their fucking lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, I blame the college. I blame the colleges for that shit, because you know what? They're not giving you any more than they did a decade ago or 2 decades ago. Why the fuck am I paying $400 for a book that I could have got the same book used for $20? But because somebody changed one word in it, or they changed a color, I have to have this fucking book. Oh my God, the rip off. Don't get me started.
I think that's more. I don't think it's a college thing. I think that's an American society thing. Americans in their college and shit. If you look at other countries in their colleges and see where you can go and do free education and all that shit, like, it's just overrated. You know what I mean? But it's part of our capitalist system. You know what I mean? I gotta keep motherfuckers in debt before they even graduate school. Like, that's the goal. Let me put your ass in debt before you graduate. Let me put you like $100,000 in debt. So that way you always feel like you have to stay in this place because you never feel like you're getting up from under my fucking thumb and shit. Like, that's what I think that is. You know what I mean?
But like, to answer that question, like, what could be done to repair those blinders? I think you said something along this line, Smith. I think if you could get people, these different classes, to be actual neighbors, not like gerrymandering borders of society, but actually have them be neighbors. Like, all right, Smith is the doctor and I'm the mechanic, and we live right next door to each other. I think that's where the empathy could come in. I think a lot of times the working class people live separately due to their income, of course. So if you could get those classes of people to live amongst each other, and I know that sounds very socialistic.
But think about it. If you in the Hollywood scene, or do you want to live next to a mechanic?
If he's a decent human being, yes.
But you talk about you. If you're in the Hollywood scene, do you want to live next to a mechanic and a fucking preschool teacher?
Yeah, me personally, yeah.
I wouldn't care. Yeah, me,
I wouldn't care.
I'm talking about the average American Hollywood person. Do they want to live next to that?
Nah.
Okay,
I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback.
I'm listening.
If the whole thing is, so let's use your example, the doctor and the mechanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of doctors make a 6-figure salary, right? And let's say a mechanic makes like 80,000. In this area, you'll find a lot of doctors and mechanics living in the same neighborhood. You'll find a lot because doctors are not trying to, especially if they got kids and they're trying to, invest in their 401k. Like one of my clients, he's a doctor. This dude makes $1.5 million a year. All right. He has a home in Florida. He has a home up here in Bloomfield, New Jersey. He has a house in Costa Rica. Now, his house in Costa Rica, granted, that shit is whoa, okay? But his house in Bloomfield is a small little 2-bedroom house, nothing extravagant, nothing blown up about. Like, I swear, if you didn't see his wife's big black Range Rover sitting in the driveway, you would never suspect that anybody living in that house is making that kind of money. All right? So you'd be surprised at how many doctors aren't living it lavish on a hill or up in some, But
well, are they? Well, I'm just saying, are they commonly living next to the working class society?
Well, my thing was, I said Hollywood for a reason, and the Hollywood doctor ain't giving a fuck about what you talking about, bro. Hollywood doctors ain't living next to no fucking mechanic. A motherfucker that's doing plastic surgery ain't giving a fuck about living next to no mechanic, bro. It's a whole nother lifestyle. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, if you was the Hollywood person, would you want to live next to a school teacher and a mechanic? More than likely, no. You're going to want to be in one of those communities that have Cameron Diaz over here, that have a fucking Paula Patton over here, that got a fucking Eddie Murphy over here, that got a Chris Rock over there. You want to live in that kind of community because for whatever reason, you got your fucking head in the dirt like an ostrich and think that's where you're supposed to be. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what it becomes.
I don't know if it's so much of head in the dirt ostrich, but the whole thing is you find that most people of a certain economic class tend to be of a certain mindset.
See, I knew you was going to say that, but like minds don't think alike, and those not like minds.
No, I'm not saying
that's like money. That's not like minds. That's like money. That's not like minds. It's two different.
But the whole thing is, I said
money want to live next to money.
Yes, but that's the mindset.
If you're a fucking mechanic or a preschool teacher, you're not money to me. And if I live by you, then it brings down my shit.
But
answering my question without answering it, I get it.
No. Here's what I'm saying is the fact of, so let's say the mechanic, for whatever reason, let's say he's the mechanic, he's a Ferrari mechanic, all right? So he gets paid buco bucks. If he lives in the same neighborhood the doctor, all the doctor really cares about is that this mechanic knows, like, hey, don't be paying your house fucked up. Make sure your lawn is cut nice and trim. Don't be bringing down my property value. I mean, as long as you follow the rules and stuff, because like, look what what's his name? What he said about how the HOA manager said that all these rich people live together and they don't trust each other, so that's why they got an HOA manager.
That's why they got the manager, because they don't.
All right, that's why they got the manager and this, that, and the other. And I'm not gonna lie, I took that a little bit to heart because, like, over in my neighborhood, and I live in a townhouse community and this, that, and the other. And the fact of, like, there's a little bit of truth to that.
There's a lot of truth to it. I think
there's a little bit of truth. Because when we go to these board meetings and stuff, everybody's like, hold up, you want to raise the HOA fine $10? Why? Like, my dude, it's $10. It hasn't been raised in like 15 years. What are you bugging out about? Like, you serious? Like, it's $10 raise. It's been 15 years.
The old saying, you give a motherfucker an inch and take a mile. So to him, he'd be like, yo, you start with 10, you might be asking for $1,000.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Start with 10, but it's going to be $10 a month, huh? Every time it's 10 becomes 20, 20 becomes 30. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I still think I still think that's a personal preference of higher echelon and lifestyle and exclusivity. It's all of that. You know what I mean? Like me, honestly, I can live next to a sanitation worker. I can live next to a mechanic. I can live next to fucking pretty much anybody. As long as you respect your fucking household and your neighborhood, I'm cool with that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you on
That's
that
all
one.
I'm off. I don't need you to be making the same amount of money that I make. I don't need you to make that to feel like, oh well, if this person is not making what I'm making, they're going to want to take what I got because they're going to be jealous. I don't think like that. You know what I mean? I just don't think like that. I know that shit happens, but I don't think like that.
Yeah. Same here.
So, guys,
So what do we do to repair the blinders? I'm just saying, like, what do we do?
You don't. There's no repairing it, bruh. Like there's no repairing it. You're gonna have the blinders. It's like the fucking horses, man. You're gonna have the blinders. Like you're gonna have. What do you do?
Here's the thing.
You deprogram and reprogram, like I always say, and that's so hard to do. That's going to take years to do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You live in a certain. Listen, Cash. You live in a certain society right now. Why do you live there? Black Zeus. You live in a certain society right now. Why do you live there? You could live in another society, but you choose to live in the society in which you live in right now. And it's a choice for a reason. You understand? And I'm asking you asking me about the blinders. Ask yourself, why do you choose to live where you live at as opposed to living somewhere else?
But I don't lack empathy.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
But I don't lack empathy for the working class.
I didn't say you lack empathy.
But I'm just saying, like, but because the statement was that David Graeber made was like the middle class and rich class lack empathy for those of the working class. So I'm saying, like,
it's not all, but there are a lot that do. You know what I mean? So I got a question. Would you go back and live next to the working class?
I wouldn't
mind. The working class that you know.
That I know, yeah. I have no problems about it.
How about your wife? You as a whole, could you all go back from where you are right now and go back into a more of a what would be considered an impoverished situation to be next to a working class?
Oh, now you add impoverished.
I'm not.
That's a whole different. Listen, you know when you leave the area that you leave, you're going to a more impoverished situation. You know that. It's a fact. We're talking facts here. It's a fact. So are you willing to leave that to come back to the working class, which is going to be more of an impoverished situation? Not that they're dirty.
I know.
Not that these people don't care, but they're just in a situation that they haven't been able to move out of yet. Are you willing to do that? And of course, you already answered by being silent. Silence is an answer. That's why the blinders won't be taken off, because people want to live a certain, and it's no fault to anybody. You know what I mean? We all want to live we want to not have certain worries. And that's the human right. I have that right to not have to worry, or I have to, Black Zeus have to worry about his wife coming in the house or his son coming in. Like, I shouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah. You understand? And I still want better for myself. And if that means that I got to move myself from this group of people where they're working class, but guess what? Ain't everybody working. You understand? So I got to look at that nuance of it too, like Black Zeus said earlier. And it's no fault to anybody. It's just about what we decide to do and what we want for our own. But if everybody moves away, you ain't got nobody to teach and play. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but why is it the fact of those that, know better or choose to do better should make the sacrifice for those who choose not to? Because at the end of the day, everything still boils down to a choice. No one owes you shit.
Yeah, exactly.
No one owes you shit.
That's why
it still boils down to a choice. And the whole thing is, if you said, hey, I want to do better, and you know a few people that are doing better, why not ask those people, how'd you do that? And those people are in your community. You just don't realize they're your teachers. They're your bankers. They're your lawyers. They're the people that service your community. Like 9 out of 10 of those people that service community don't live there.
Are people in your neighborhood even empathetic to you?
What do you mean?
If you are the one that still would grab a door and hold it open for somebody, I say the one because that's not, chivalry is not what it used to be. Are people receptive? Are people paying attention to you? Do people notice you? Do people say, "Hey, hi, thank you"? That's nice. You know what I mean?
I've had people.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you in Cash that because he was talking about the blinders and being more empathetic, but you're assuming that these people don't have empathy, or are people treating you a certain way in your own neighborhood? You know what I mean? Like that's the question, Cash. Are people, because there's going to be a certain level of blinders. You know what I mean? I have mine off. My head is on a fucking swivel. I wish my shit could be like an owl and I could flip that bitch all the way around my neck and come back around. But so I ask you that, like, when you hold the door open for a person in your neighborhood, are they not saying thank you? Are they not being empathetic just in your own neighborhood and you already live in a certain class of neighborhood?
I would say this is kind of hard if you're not walking around, like holding doors. That might be hard, but in regards of like, if I were to walk down the street and having conversation, damn, I hate to insert race into this shit, but I find myself.
It's what it is, though, man.
Yeah, I find myself having more conversation with people who shares my same phenotype than those who are not. And does that mean that those who are not my phenotype lacks empathy? I don't know, but I do say when I gesture to say hi, it's a lot of times it's often me having to gesture to say hi. So make of that as you want, so I don't know. That's my experience.
Yeah, no, I was just with my friend and he was speaks to everybody, and he was saying, and I was just asking him, I was like, "Yeah, so if you didn't speak to them, would they have spoken to you?" He's like, "Man, I don't give a fuck about that. I just say hi to everybody I see." I'm like, "Yeah, you weird."
I'm like your friend though. Like I would say hi, and then I'm just like, and what comes out of it will come out of it. But like,
he just says it to everybody. Like he just
and that's the thing.
That's him. That's him.
But I do make that observation though, in regards of who's more receptive to reciprocate that gesture. I do make that observation though.
So in my experience, because of the environment I came out of, where you don't make the wrong eye contact or say the wrong thing to the wrong people in the street. I don't know you, this, that, and the other. You don't know me. I don't fuck with you. You don't fuck with me. Kind of mentality. Growing up in that mentality, and just it is what it is. It's like, yo, if you saw everybody that came up the street was is either a threat or a passerby. You know what I mean?
That's bad. That's so bad.
That was like the mentality I grew up with. So
I know, and it's such a bad mentality. It's like,
so when I moved up, or whatever you want to call it, into a different environment, I really didn't know how to adapt. So it was like, I got people saying, "Hey, Sugar, what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm like, what's your point? Like, why
what you want?"
Like, yeah, exactly. People that like when we first moved to our town and everything, when my son was in kindergarten, and people would say, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Kevin. My kid is such and such. Is who's your kid?" Or that's your dad, you're Tyler's dad, or whatever. I'd always be like apprehensive.
Yeah.
I'd always be apprehensive. I remember one woman, she said to me like, "Oh, which one is yours?" And I'm thinking to myself, obviously the only fucking black kid out here.
I've had that one too. I've had that
one. I was like, so like, if anything, I think I was more conditioned to be non-responsive versus those around me that weren't, that in this community, they're more friendly. Like even now to this day, when we first moved into our neighborhood, all of our neighbors like, "Hi, I'm Joanne. Hi, I'm Nick. Oh, you're amazing. This, that, and the other." Like, and I'm just like, I'm a little bit still apprehensive. Like, damn, you were trying to get to know me a little too well. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm still a little standoffish. So
That's how I am with my man. I'm like, yo, you grew up like how I grew up. You like you talk to every like, yo, I always been like that. I'm like, yeah, you and I'm like you. I'm apprehensive. I'm like, I don't mind speaking, but I'm not gonna be with what Cass said. Like, I feel like I have to always be the initiator. You know what I mean?
I'm not that dude. I'm always on the defense.
Like I'm holding the door. You should say hi and thank you.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't be saying hi and you're
like
welcome.
I'm not gonna be a dick. I hope the door open if I'm there and you happen to be coming through.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go out of my way to be like, oh, they're coming out in about a minute. Let me hold the door.
Let me hold it. Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
20 paces back. Let me hold the door for them.
Exactly. I'm not doing that.
Let this joint close.
Yeah. All right. Let's another question. According to the author, if women were to be compensated like men, then half of the world's wealth would have to be handed over to them. Knowing what we know about jobs now, do you believe this to be true?
I see that women.
Because the last chapter got real preachy on some gender shit. I don't know if you guys picked that up.
So I mean, you gotta remember that this even though this guy came out of Yale, which is a very prestigious, elitist school, he seems to be very, very, and even though he was criticizing libertarians, he seems to be very liberal. But as his argument about giving more money and power to women, that has already been happening. I mean, just the fact that he pointed out how the one story about the daughter and the feminist group that burned pages of what Saint Paul said or something like that, and as soon as her mother got a job, she divorced her husband and left him. You know what I mean? Which go right back to the myth of male power, where men lose their utility when a woman doesn't need him for finance or sperm. She already got the kid out of him, and she now has her own money. Well, fuck you, nigga, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, but let a man try to dispose of a woman that way. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Will things be better? Well, I'll put it like this. We have been moving more of a liberal wokeism, whatever movement that mostly women have been heading and empowering. And well, what do you think so far, fellas? Does this seem like equality to you? Does this seem like a better society to you?
I was going to hit that one where you were saying we were talking about before where females can't do certain things to keep the society going up. Controlling the water and the power grids and all that stuff. Like,
infrastructure stuff.
The infrastructure with
the dirty jobs, the bullshit jobs.
Yeah, where the wrenches are like 8 feet long and it's like 400 pounds.
Heavy as hell. I grabbed one of them shits once. I was like, God damn.
Yeah, and the thing is, I thought that was a joke until my client Elena actually showed me a picture of her holding one of those wrenches.
Oh no, them wrenches real.
Yeah. Those wrenches is real. Like I was like, God damn, that thing is taller than you. What the fuck?
So yeah, I don't know. Like that was off the rack where half of the world's worth. He's just saying basically that men have been in control of men own the majority of the money in the world. Basically, that's what he's saying. Because you're saying half of it will have to be handed over to women. You know what I mean? But I think that I think it's still that thing. Some jobs, yes, women, you can do a lot, but you still can't do it all. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you still can't do it all. And some jobs, unless you're making some more robotic stuff that you can push some buttons to control some things, they just can't be done. But I don't think it will have to do with any of the compensation. You know what I mean? I think the whole compensation would have to be adjusted, period, because, people, as we talk with those people who get the parachutes, them golden parachutes, they end up leaving with a lot of money. And people who have worked 25, 35 years really giving back to society end up with a gold watch. That's fake. They end up with a Folex. I'm just saying.
The whole thing is...
Oh, go ahead, Lexus.
Well, I was just going to say, look, the reality is when men were in power, if we go back to the dark ages, when men were in power, in full control, women had no say, no power. Men were cruel, men were hard, men were, like were monsters. I mean, and we don't want to be at that extreme end.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We don't want to be at that extreme end of just cruelty and just hardship and just like, well, it's every man for himself, fuck them, this, that, and the other. We don't want to be at that level. But the same token, I don't know if putting all the power in women necessarily is the answer either. I think there needs to be but the whole thing is he's talking about the shift of power being to women instead of being to men.
Yeah.
He didn't say like the whole thing is if we were to actually create an ego.
He didn't shift the power. He said women are being, your wife gets paid the same amount that you get paid for doing the same job. That's what he said. Compensated at the same.
Yeah, compensated like men.
And I'm saying,
but he was saying that the
compensate them now.
But he also mentioned the shift of power.
Well, the shift of power, because I look at, and the reason I brought that up is because I look at the thing in Afghanistan. Like for whatever reason, the Taliban don't want women to learn shit.
Okay.
You know what I
mean? That's
once again. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about compensation, like, would these jobs be different? Like, these women can actually be beneficial to that society, but they don't want to learn shit. You know what I mean?
But once again, let's look at it from population control, right? Let's be honest. If you went back to the 1960s, you went back to the 1950s, before women entered the workforce, there was a job for every man. We used to have an unemployment rate of like 1.4%. All right, that used to be the
job for every man now, though.
Huh?
2021. You don't think there's a job for every man?
Let me finish my thought. My thought. The whole thing is there used to be a job for every man, and if you look into history, because remember when I was doing all that research of like I just happened to look into all of this just for shit's sake, right? Like we're at 4.2% so 4 times as much unemployment now than you might have had back in the 60s. Mm-hmm. And the thing is the fact that back in those days, before college became a big thing, before the job market changed, this, that, and the other, if a man worked in garbage, he was still respected. If a man worked as the milkman, he was still respected. He could still find a wife. He could still find, this, that, and the other, and all those things. He would still have respect because he's a working man. That was the end of it. There was no like executive, pretty, or 6-figure salary. It was just that he was a working man, and that's all he needed to qualify for respect as a man in society. That's all he needed. But when you and I'm not disagreeing with, once again, I'm not disagreeing with women having equal pay and this, that, and the other. But you'll have to look at the facts. Is that when you gave women those equal opportunities at X, Y, and Z, women did not say, "Hey, I want the equal pay and the equal responsibilities and downfalls." They didn't say, "Hey, I want equal responsibility, this, that, and equal pay, and I want a man to make equal amount as me." They said, "I want to make as much as the man, and the ones I marry, I still want him to make more and pay all the bills." So it's like, you got this contradiction of equality, where it's like you want women to have all the benefits that men have, but none of the drawbacks that men have. You want women to say, hey, they're empowered to leave a man, but if they get with a man, he still has to, it's still a very hypergamy situation.
But
it's just like, I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I'm just saying that it has its downfalls. And it's not exactly a fair system. Just like he pointed out how some of the legislation that they were making was to punish men. It wasn't just to, make things fair and equal. Some of it was to punishment, where you see the repercussions of it now, where men are not in the workforce in a lot of these executive or administrative positions. It's mostly dominated by women.
The statement is saying that there are more women working than men.
Yes.
That's what this statement says.
Also, look at the fact of
compensated like a man, half of the world's worth would go to these women. So they say that there's more women that's working than the men, because if they were just to be compensated on the level that cash is being compensated on, then there wouldn't be enough money, because half of it would have to go to these ladies. But you said the milkman, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm saying, so if the job becomes obsolete, was it a bullshit job, or did that society just
the needs of society change because now we don't need a milkman. It's like before there used to be an Iceman. They used to bring
but they still
a
have,
block of ice to the
they
refrigerator.
still have the Iceman though. They still have the Iceman,
but not to the level that they had him before.
No, not. You're right. Not to the level where
now that we have electric fridges, there used to be a major push for taxi drivers. Now with Uber. So as technology comes into play, it changes the landscape.
No, there was a major shift with horse and carriages. Then
there you go. So that's the thing. It's like the horse, the guy who tended to the horse now has to become an auto mechanic. And when the auto mechanic job gets replaced by a robot, now that guy has to become the guy that take care of the robot, that take care of the car that the person drives in, or that drives itself to the person. So we have to constantly.
One of the variables that's missing in this is, you could compensate a woman like a man, but that doesn't account for the disparity in hours and commitment that's often involved. So when I heard that, I instantly remember, back in my early years of working in corporate America, this female, she was an executive. She got pregnant and she never returned. So it's just like, so am I to say that she's still, she's no longer being compensated in, while she was on maternity leave, she didn't make this, obviously maternity leave has parameters in regards of how much you could collect. But I just don't think that you could honestly think that handing over half of the world's wealth over to women just on compensation alone will do justice. Like, it doesn't account for work ethic. It doesn't account for hours committed. Yeah, it just doesn't. So it's just, it's similar to.
But I'm still looking at it like you're still telling me though it doesn't account for work ethic. But you're still saying that if I and you and I'm being a female work the same job, that I shouldn't be compensated at the same rate that you're compensated.
Yeah, I would never ever.
That's the question right there. Look,
but the second part was like he was saying that but the thing is, the second part to that statement, he said that
then I would have to half the world's worth would have to go to women if they were compensated. So what I'm saying is, take the half out. Are you saying that me and you work the same jobs and I'm a female? Should we not be compensated at the same rate?
I would not dispute that. Yes, you could be compensated the same way. But I'm saying when it comes to saying, half of the world's wealth or what your net worth is gonna that's gonna vary based on someone's work ethic.
No, I don't think it varies on their work ethic. I think he's still saying that it's based off the fact that if you and I got paid for the same job, then therefore we would have to give women more money because they have been working these same jobs and have not been compensated at the same rate. That's what I think is.
But one of the flaws,
not in the United States, though.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if I decide as a woman to say, you know what, Schubert, I'm going to be compensated like Schubert, but I decide to take 4 days off out of the week where Schubert decides to work 7 days out of the week, then that compensation.
But does Schubert have that option to take those same days off?
Yes, Schubert has those options to take.
Okay, so I don't understand because I exhausted? Wait. Let me finish my question. Have I exhausted my work days? Have I exhausted the time off that I have? If not, and I'm still within the realm and the expectations of the job, why shouldn't I be compensated? Now, look, he might let me finish. He might have the opportunity to sell days back at the end of our work session or the end of a period, X amount of period. I should not make.
I see what you're coming from, but I'm talking about let's say, all right, you're talking about in the realm of like corporate America or being a teacher, but let's say we're Uber drivers. You're being compensated the same way that I'm being compensated. I'm a female driver. You're a man driver. But
that's different though, because
how is it different? You're being compensated the same.
No, because you get paid based off the amount of people that you pick up. Same like taxi. That's different. If you're picking up more people, you're going to get paid more because you're picking up more people.
Okay,
Listen, if we work in a restaurant and you get more patrons on your side of the room, you're going to make more tips than I'm going to make. You understand?
I see what you're saying in regards to that. But I think there's some elements, like even when they talk about wage disparities amongst, the medical industry. Well, I forgot who pointed this out. I think Dr. Jordan Peterson, he pointed this out, like where women would not, you can have a male pediatrician and a female pediatrician.
Mm-hmm.
The study showed that the male pediatrician just did more. He was like, whereas a woman, she'll tap out of the industry quicker. Yeah, your compensation was the same, but what was your work ethic?
So I left earlier.
Yeah, you left earlier. You
for whatever reason.
Yeah,
my compensation was the same while I was there.
Yeah, the compensation was the same, but when you talk about handing over wealth, that's a flawed argument because I
agree with that because the one thing about the teacher thing is this: it doesn't matter if you're a female or a male. Yeah. It matters the amount of years that you've worked. You understand? Yeah. And you get compensated based off the amount of, and that's where I'm coming from a different argument because you get compensated based off the years that you work. It's not, you're a white female teacher, so you're going to get 10,000 more. It doesn't work like that. It works that you have 5 more years than I have, so you get paid.
And that's the argument I'm making because it's just like to say that immediately or automatically half of the world's wealth will just be transferred over to women. I'm like, well, you're missing that. You're missing like, does she decide to say, you know what? I got a husband at home. I don't necessarily want to commit 7 years to teachers. I'm going to do 5. So it's just like, nah, like you're not going to be.
But for those 5 years that she's working, should she not be compensated at the same rate?
In those 5 years,
the whole thing.
That's my whole thing. Like the 5 years
but
that
here's
she
the
is working,
thing.
my wife should be able to make exactly what you making. My wife in your business should be able to make what you're making. I don't care that she's not going to be in there for 25 years. But now, while she is in there, she should be making what you're making. That's my argument.
But what he's saying is the fact of, once again, we're thinking in absolutes instead of thinking about the nuances, and the
I'm thinking about the nuances of it. That's what
the nuances is that the fact of, you can put a man and a woman in the same job with the same salary or same pay. And let's say, the person, who gets bonuses is going because they put in more hours or they get the opportunity to be advanced and get a promotion. Typically tends to be male because males tend to push the limits of how much they can work a little bit harder than females on average. It's not in absolutes, on average. Because there's also societal programming where like he pointed out, if a married woman is married, she feels like, it's okay. I'm not going to skip out on my kid's soccer team or soccer game, this, that, and the other, blah, put in these extra hours. I'm going to go to the game. While the husband, typically, he is like, listen, the family is expecting to go on Disney vacation, so I need to put in these hours so I can get the money up to take us to Disney vacation. And that alone changes the game. The fact that men will go a little bit harder in the paint because the fact that there's a small level of expectation of him to do so within his own tribal unit of his family or his home.
I agree with the 1995 way of thinking, but unfortunately, we're in 2021. And unfortunately, we have females that became males and will go hard in the paint. And unfortunately, it's different. So I can't agree with that, brother. I just can't blanket it into one statement because things are different.
I'm not blanking. I'm saying the fact.
I hear exactly what you're saying, but I'm saying there are now the gender norms have switched. So now there's a male that is willing to stay home and go to the soccer games, and the female is
there are, but in general, is that really?
We don't know in general because it's switching right now. In general, we would not be talking about LGBT.
How many males do you know?
I'm done after I say this. In general, we would not be talking about LGBTQIUAW. So we're not talking about general. We're talking about now. 2021 has changed.
Now, let's talk about now. How many male teachers or male professors do you know? They're like, I'm taking paternal leave for the next 3-6 months.
Actually, in the last 2 years, 3.
And
actually,
how many women?
Listen. Let me.
How many women?
Let me finish. It's been 3, and I've told the guys, you should take that time, because I didn't take the time that I thought I should have taken. You know what I mean? Because I was still on that.
Them.
No, I was on that 1995 way of thinking, like, oh no, I got to be at work. I'm the man. Not saying that, hey, I still get paid for being on maternity leave, being home. It was a lapse of me. You know what I mean? It was a lapse of me. It wasn't a lapse of anybody else. It was something that I didn't understand. So the new men that are getting their wives pregnant, they're taking off, man. They're doing maternity.
Yeah, because it's offered to them.
That's what I'm saying. Before a certain years ago, let me
ask you a question.
And if you did it, you would be looked at as a sucker soft male. It was different. And I'm saying we're in 2021 now, so the norms are changing. Our gender norms and everything is changing.
But here's the thing:
about, are we willing to change? I don't change.
Let's say you work in a working class. Let's say you work in a working class.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that the working class get those same privileges that executives or people like yourself in the public sector gets? Do you think the working class has those rights? Because legally, women have the legal right, for maternity leave. But men still don't legally have that. That's a luxury that's given to you by the
administration has done. That's what they've moved to. Giving everybody that maternity leave. So that's what I'm saying. We're in 2021. We can't talk about what was 5 years, what was 10 years. We're in 2021 and they've changed.
We're in 2021. But legally speaking,
they changed the rules, and legally you can now.
Legally you can. So as a male, if I work at McDonald's, they got to hold my job while I'm, gone for 3 months on maternity leave.
Well, the one with the McDonald's, that's the one that they're arguing with. That's why the Democratic split is in with Biden right now, because they're saying we want maternity leave for everyone.
It's the argument that they're having right now. So it's not there yet.
Not for all companies, I don't think. I can't speak on McDonald's because I don't know.
So currently, males still do not.
Currently, a male can still take off of McDonald's, from what I know. Currently, yes, a male can take off if he has a wife that's pregnant.
Not by law.
By law that I know right now, currently, yes. And unless you know different and you can show me that,
I'll have to
I know what I know.
You know what I've seen. I'll double check it, but
that's what I'm saying. They can take it off. Like, they can take it off. If Cash was to get his wife pregnant, which he's not having any kids, but if he was to get his wife pregnant, he can take off for maternity leave and be off for the time for the child to be born. Like, that's only right. See, that I like the fact that the man is now pushing back and saying, wait, I don't mind a female being compensated, but if we're having a child, I need to have that time off too. You understand?
You know what? And that is
about equity. That's all.
Yeah. That's
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about equity. I don't care if you get compensated what I get compensated. But the same way that you want what a male want, I want what a female wants.
Yeah.
That's equal. That's equity. And that's all my arguments.
And I agree with you on that. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. But going back to my point is the fact that the same women that talk about this equity, they sure don't show it when it comes to men. When men say men want what women have, then it's a problem.
Yeah, that's different.
When women want when women want what men have, it's empowering. When men want what women want, it's a problem.
Look, women want what women want, they want what men want, and they want what they want. Like,
exactly.
I did that part. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm in full support of it. Hey, give it to everybody. If you give it to one person, you got to give it to everybody. But that's not the argument.
I'm saying if
the argument always
Joanna
seems to be
stay home for 3 months, then Cash could stay home for 3 months too.
The argument always
that's what I'm saying.
The argument always seems to be give women this, give women that. They never say, well, give men and women.
It was suckery because I would say, hey, Black Zeus, your wife needs to bond with the child. And you're like, okay, I'm the father. I don't need to bond with my child. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, if y'all gonna play the game, we can play the game. But I need to be home with the child
last week because we talked about an article of a CEO of a company who shitted on parental leave.
They're like, nah, fuck that parental leave. That's some bullshit.
Yeah.
And I had to agree. I wasn't shitting on it, but I understood the mentality because, like, Real talk. Like I said to the fellas last week, those first 3 months, I came home, and I would be with my kid when I came home from work. My wife had to be there because somebody has to be there with the kid. And my wife is going to provide breastfeeding. But what's my justification?
Yeah. You want to bond with your child. You want to take your shirt off and be able to sit with your child on your chest. That's what your shit is. It's the same thing that they put in all these books, bruh. In 2021, they changed the dynamics of how we used to live, Black Zeus.
I get
how we thought things were and how we thought they should be. It ain't like that no more.
I get that.
If they're gonna push that agenda, then guess what? I'm gonna find that little niche and I'm gonna get right in and say, hey, but what about this? That's what I'm gonna always push back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the same way they pushing, I always gotta push back because it's like, yeah, I see that, but you ain't think of it that way when we were doing it. And now that you're doing it, I want to be all inclusive as well. So include me also. It's a difference when we have Mother's Day thing and they souping up Mother's Day, and then Father's Day come around and it's nothing. It's silent.
Yeah, they get garbage.
You understand? That's why
they don't be having no specials at the restaurants. They don't.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
come on now. It's disrespectful as hell.
Like it just the whole dynamic just changes.
Let's get into the ranking of the book.
Oh, ranking. Redundancy joint. I'm gonna get right in. I'm gonna give this one a 3, man. I like the concept. There was some things that I did. Well, they were reiterated back to me that I already had some thoughts of. But I think that this one was long-winded, man. I think this one was long-winded, more so than others that I've read. Now, or I'll say listened to. I think that he kept coming back to hash out some things that were already hashed out and talked about. And that's why I'm going with the 3. Once I understood what the bullshit job was, the definition of it and everything, to keep giving the anecdotal stories, that was a little much. How do we get past the bullshit jobs? I shouldn't have to wait till like the last chapter to figure out, we want to use UBI and we want to use the Oprah mentality where everybody gets a car. I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that concept either. But yeah, I give it that. It has some powerful points. It made me still look at the school system and see where, not on the higher ups, because I know on the higher ups, everybody got an assistant and all that. So I know there's BS there. I already said there's always BS in, there's pretty much going to be BS in any job you do. Right now, I just think there's going to be some form of line of bullshit in it. But I was looking at the school system and saying how many positions in a school are actually bullshit. Not that people take their jobs to be bullshit and don't do their jobs the way they need it to be or need to be done, which is a whole different story. You know what I mean? But are there really some bullshit jobs? And I really couldn't see that many on the working level. You know what I mean? The grassroots level, I really couldn't see that many. But I know as it goes up into the administration part, like Black Zeus said, now we got 8 administrators, 6 VPs under this VP, NDCs for this, and then you got people under them, and it's like, okay, then what are you all doing? And if everybody is just sitting here pushing out emails, what's the job that's being done? So that's my ranking for it. But I did get, I got a few takeaways that I jotted down now.
Okay. Black Zeus, would you like me to go, or you got this?
I'll knock it out real quick. I concur. It was very redundant, very long-winded. It did not really provide anything new to the argument. It did not speak about the benefits. I don't think it gave a fair analysis. So, like we said, with Obama, with, hey, what are we going to do with these 3 million jobs? Or just the fact of maybe a company said, hey, I would rather keep a person employed, even though it's a bullshit job. I'd rather give them employment versus not give them employment. If they choose to leave that bullshit job, good for them. Because that's the one of the things about being in a free market is that, hey, if you think it's such bullshit, leave the fucking job. You know what I mean? Improve yourself, get better skills, and or knowledge, whatever case is, and leave the fucking job, or downsize to a job that you feel is more fulfilling, that doesn't pay as great, whatever the case is, and eat that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You gotta make choices. I felt that he wasn't objective enough, that he was not being realistic about everything. Everything comes with its plus and minuses. They're like, even with his answers with UBI, and he was trying to, dismiss human behavior and human nature, that, if such a large majority of people are doing jobs that they don't like, and they would only do a job that they like if it's available to them, then you have to assume that same 30-40% of people who are not happy with their jobs would quit their job because they got UBI and not fucking work until they got a job that they like. So now we're looking at just we're looking at a 4.2% unemployment, and seeing how it affects our overall society. Imagine having a 30-40% of unemployment, because motherfuckers are like, well, I want to be a basket weaver, and there's no basket weaver jobs.
So UBI sounds a lot like welfare for everybody.
That's pretty much
that's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
And it's borderline Marxism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna parrot what you guys had to say. I'm gonna give this book a 3. I think, honestly,
I'm giving it a 2.
You giving it a 2?
Okay.
I'm giving it a 2 out of 5.
I do appreciate the awareness of bullshit jobs. I think at times we need to discuss. I think more so, not necessarily have corporations do anything, but at least have people, to what Smith was pointing out. Like, if you meet somebody at the bar, it shouldn't be a resume description. Just tell me what your job is from your heart. Like, don't try to make it all fancy. So I do kind of appreciate that people need to at least, be cognizant or be comfortable with the fact that their job is bullshit. But it was definitely repetitive and long-winded. And I think one of the issues that I had, and once again, like, he didn't point the elephant in the room. It's population, to what Shu was pointing out. It's just like, you can't.
Never talked about that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's the most obvious thing. It's just like, how do you keep people productive? That's the thing about life. You still need to be productive. You guys remember Joe Paterno, the Penn State coach? The moment he stopped fucking doing that job, he dropped dead. How many people particularly men, are like this, that once they no longer could do the job that they're passionate about, they just drop dead because they lost their purpose. Yeah, they lost their work, their purpose.
The purpose. Yeah.
So it's just like, I think he didn't address that. He didn't address that, we have a large population of people, and there is going to be a need for bullshit jobs, even though it doesn't make any sense in some regards, because you need people to remain productive, to at least have some sort of value in the society. It sounds fucked up that it comes across as materialistic, but hey, it is what it is.
And the fact that he pointed out that, how unemployment has caused people to commit suicide.
Yeah. Like,
no one's ever killed. If I have to highlight one more piece of paper, I'm going to blow my brains out. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. But meanwhile, you're going to, like you said, he doesn't point to the aspects of humanity. Like, you really think that people are going to just find these new way of being productive? No, you're just gonna have a shit ton of lazy motherfuckers. And matter of fact, you might have a shit ton of destructive motherfuckers that just gonna say, you know what? I ain't got shit to do. What you want to do? Let's vandalize some shit, or let's just start harassing people. I don't know. It's just like,
or just
because
look at this aspect, right? The fact of, let's use a country that has UBI, such as France, right? France has UBI. And what world-changing production has France had?
French fries.
You stupid. I mean, like, France has some of the most amazing art and architecture in the world. But as far as, what has France given to the world to change the world? Because America has the iPhone. America has, I hate to admit it, but not America, but capitalism has contributed more to world-changing things than anything else.
Let me sum up some of the UBI. That's what I think right here, right? It's easy to say people would do what they love, right? But my question, and I ask the students when I ask them, like, hey, so what are you going to do? You said you're not going to college. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a YouTuber. All right, cool. Send me your YouTube channel so I can say, oh, I didn't start it yet. So what I'm saying is that UBI sounds good about people doing what they love, but why wouldn't people be doing what they love already? Don't tell me that you're working that much. Don't tell me that you're working that much that you can never do what you love, so you could come out of that job, that bullshit job that is getting you some money so you can actually do what you love. You understand? So I don't go with that, oh, everybody will do what they love. People don't even know what they love. People love what other people are doing. You know what I mean? Like at the end
and here's the thing: if you get paid to do what you love, is it still what you love, or is it work?
Nah, it's not work. When you
can love your work.
When you love what you do, you're not going to work. You never have to go to work when you find the passion of what you love. When you do what you love, you're never going to work.
It's kind of like how he pointed out how if you put a dollar sign on, that housewife that take care of the family, this, that, and the other, is it still the same? Is it still the same work, or is it just another job?
Yeah.
Because one of my clients, she refers to herself, she hates the name housewife. She says, I'm a domestic engineer. I'm like, yeah, whatever you want to tell yourself.
How much do domestic engineers get paid a year?
After that man's salary.
Exactly.
Man,
for the rest of her life.
Good one. Where's the button, man? You fell off with the button at the end, man.
Yeah.
I'm getting off, but you fell off with the button at the end.
But yeah,
that was a good one right there. That
was a
but
half a man's salary.
plus some of his philosophies just were out of whack. Like I didn't like going back to the question that we had discussed earlier. I didn't like the fact that he posed no solutions. So
But then again, he's an anarchist, so it's not about coming up with a solution. It's about destroying the system.
The system.
Yeah. By the way, the system that he wrote a book in, that he's probably getting paid and living in a nice, a pretty nice location, off the payment that he's, off what he's making off of this book.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? The system that allows him to even have a voice and write such a book or work for Yale, to go from a dishwasher. Don't forget, one of his first jobs was a dishwasher. So you went from in capitalism, you went from washing dishes to writing books. Mm-hmm. But yet you're complaining about how no one can do what they love. But somehow you found a way. That's the ironic bullshit about some of these motherfuckers. Yeah. It's like you complain about how motherfuckers can't do what you did, as if you were some special exception to the rule.
Yeah.